Hey y'all, grown black folks talkers. I am on my favorite hill in a spot that is protected from the wind. The trees around me within sight are dancing. But when you climb high enough and you get to the right spot on this hill, that's not your reality. That's just not your reality. So in the previous video, I was talking about how you climb to a place that for a lot of the issues that hit other people don't bother you anymore. Didn't do the video about how Giannis Antetokounmpo taught me some things this week about how you access your value to the point that reciprocal relationships are valuable relationships are inevitable. I talked about that in the last video. And I left out the darker part because as I was climbing up this hill, I realized the mess Ja Morant is in is much deeper. Y'all see me. These blue jays and other birds are taking refuge here. And you can kind of hear them singing to each other. The hole Ja Morant is in, as I was coming up the hill, I realized it. And that hole has a lot of us in that hole. Okay, a lot of, I'm sorry, y'all. These blue jays are hunting these little gnats around here. Okay. We're not going to do, we're not going to have, I am not going to have nature being brutal on this video unless it happens over my shoulder. Anyway, sorry about the distraction, y'all. The hole that he is in, I realized coming up the hill because I had two realizations. I've talked about Sergeant Love. He was my first serious walking partner and taught me how to climb a hill. He's an Army man. He said it doesn't matter how big the hill is. If you take it slowly enough, you can climb it. Then we learned about staging. Then I learned later about staging hills and how that's true even if the mountain is Mount Everest. Chomolungma is its real name. I got to remember to keep using that. Shout out to Confidence with Love, even though I'm not a goddess worshiper. Calling things by the names that people name them is important in order that we retain memory of real cultures and their real belief systems, even if we don't agree with them. Mount Chomolungma, it's possible to climb that hill, and people do that with those principles. But as I was climbing up the hill, I thought about two things. I thought about how some of these men worried about the alpha widow phenomenon is correct with a woman my age. Because by the time you reach my age, one of two things has happened. At 42, you've met either a lot of bad men, or in my case, I've met a lot of good ones and have loved good men. Things just didn't work out. But Sergeant Love, and my father for that matter, as a record, these would qualify as alpha males. And once you've had that kind of influence in your life, men who will not climb out of the mass can't compete. So when Sergeant Love dies, I will fit the qualifications of what they call an alpha widow. But it's not a knock on me, and it's certainly not a knock on him. It has to do with the fact that many men want to be in a toxic masculine culture and do not want to do the work. See, a man whose value to himself and to this world and to God in Christ is equal to Sergeant Love's or my father's, or better, although it's hard for me to conceive of that, but we'll roll with it. We'll have no problem. But see, many men do not think an aging woman who's overweight is worth all that. And I'm sitting up here like, look, it should be worth it to you yourself. But if a man does not see that it's worth it to him himself to be the best that he can be, at no point even considering me. Now, men will say, well, we'll be inspired if we get a woman that's beautiful enough. No, you won't, because she's going to get older too. And eventually the newness will wear off. If you don't believe that for yourself, you'll never get there. And then I had to think about, how is it that men get stuck for so long? And then I remembered Waymond D. Wesley. And when I remembered Waymond D. Wesley, then I thought of Ja Morant and I said, oh. Something else I heard this week. And black woman minding my business brought this to my attention. There's a channel called T-Salt. And T-Salt has a clip of Kevin Samuels talking about how the manosphere was being showed up by Chrissie I and Cynthia G. I believe April Mason was there, and at least one other. And in that clip, he talked about how the culture of the manosphere was trying to do gotchas on him He said it, Cynthia G and Crystal and Carrison have buried the hatchet enough so that they can do things together and access the value. Meanwhile, I've got people trying to do gotchas on me from January. Well, y'all know he passed in May of that year. So this man has lived his entire life and has noted this. Waymond D. Wesley noted also that he had a good mother, but he got sucked into the toxic culture around him. And that's what caused him to be out here demeaning black women in the most vile of ways. And then I thought to myself, he was 24 and Ja Morant's about that same age. So in order for these men to pull out of this, they're going to have to pull out and climb above this whole culture. And it's going to be a process of many steps, as we learned from Giannis Antetokounmpo, steps to success. And it's going to be a very hard climb. In Ja Morant's case, he's got to leave his parents, like for real. And this is why a lot of people don't make it. As black women, there's a lot of toxicity that we engage in as well. I forever marvel that 70% of Kevin Samuel's subscribers base reputedly were black women, nearly 1 million. I forever marvel at the hate watching we are capable of. I forever marvel at that. But I know that it fits into the same category of why it is hard to leave abusive situations, because we're not always sure that we have somewhere else that we can go and find community. Finding healthy, non-codependent community is really hard. I may post this video tomorrow about how church is not always it. For many black women, that has not always been a refuge for us. I may post that tomorrow. I have to give some thought to that because I want to be very particular in what I say. This is not a knock on Christ and Christianity. This is a reference to how little the institutional churches that we have been exposed to reflect actual biblical Christianity. But leaving all you know and going alone on a long climb is not what most of us are actually inclined to do as humans. It's really a realization on the day that you realize if I don't go alone, I probably won't make it at all. If I don't take the steps that go with my dream, I'm not going to ever make it. That's a challenge. That's a mindset change. But see, this is the thing. The gravity that Ja Morant is in, unless he can make this decision, is going to cause him to lose everything. Despair, degradation, destruction. It does not matter who you are. If you fail to climb out of that cycle, you're going down. Doesn't matter who you are. $194 million makes no difference. Waymond D. Wesley, in his apology, laid out the steepness of the hill. He's going to have to disconnect from the whole culture, and he's going to have to go believing that he will connect properly somewhere else. And that's going to be really hard for him in the NBA. But there are people out there he can learn from. A lot of the older basketball players are trying to give him good advice. He can reach out to some of them. Some of them have his background. But he's got to make a decision. And it's going to be really hard. And I'm not saying that to knock him. I'm going to pray for him that he make it. Because he really is going to need all the spiritual help that he can get. It's a tough journey he's got. Up or down. But I pray that he make it. And I pray that those of you who are playing around with foolery, you've got a tough hill to climb because you got friends that are still in the foolery. You're going to have to let that go and get to climbing. Because the permanent unclass is just that. Permanent. You land down there, you may not have time enough in life. You may not have skill development sufficient in time. The economy is shifting. Now, of course, for any individual, permanency may not be permanent, but you know what I'm saying. You're getting older just like me. Make good decisions. Exit anything toxic that you must, believing that there will be community to catch you as you climb. All right. Y'all have a good day now. Goodbye.